green wall. It's not just about planting trees. It has to become a movement from the whole continent.
A farewell to one-of-a-kind artist Christo and his sweeping, grandiose installations, and Inna Modja tells us about a great green wall to combat the effects of climate change. But first, lights are being dimmed in the music industry this week, at least metaphorically, as major labels stage Blackout Tuesday. Companies like Warner, Sony and Def Jam are halting business in solidarity with the protests all over the United States, which have been calling for an end to institutionalized racism and police brutality. Dozens of artists, including Rihanna, Taylor Swift, Jay-Z and Beyoncé, have expressed their anger after the death of George Floyd, a black man killed in police custody. And many have made significant donations to civil rights groups to help further that cause. Next, his was an art of concealing to better reveal his subjects. Christo was famous for wrapping up Berlin's Reichstag building, the Pont Neuf here in France, and working as a duo with his late wife Jeanne-Claude. The artist has died at 84 years old, but working up until the end, he was even planning to envelop the Arc de Triomphe in metres and metres of fabric in their signature style. Well, that final artwork should be realised later this year, along with a retrospective of his unique career. Solange Mougin takes a look.
He was a Pied Piper of sorts. Christo was an artist who managed to move bureaucratic mountains and convince property owners, politicians, and above all the public of the importance of his fleeting land art projects, ones he created in collaboration with his wife, Jeanne-Claude. Their 2016 Walk on Water project, The Floating Piers, was open to the public for less than a month. The artist said it was the dock's ephemeral nature that made them beautiful.
They're like our life. They appear once and they're gone forever. We never do the same things again. There will be no another floating pier.
Shunned by some critics as being a showman, Christo and his wife's earlier triumphs made them a favorite with the public, such as the wrapping of Paris's Pont Neuf in 1985. It was stalled for years by political roadblocks, but hundreds of thousands came out to see the central Paris bridge covered in 40,000 square meters of fabric. Then came the Reichstag in 1995. Decades in the making as well, it held particular significance for the artist and for Germans, as it came on the heels of the fall of the Berlin Wall. 5 million people came to see and touch the fabric. Born in 1935 in Bulgaria, Christo Vladimirov Javashev fled Eastern Europe at 21. Settling in Paris, he began to make a name for himself in the art world. An interest in wrapping objects bloomed into larger land art installations that were largely self-financed by project sketches. In 1964, Christo and Jeanne-Claude moved to New York, where they would become American citizens and live for the rest of their lives. And it's there in 2005 that they would install the gates, 7,500 steel structures hung with saffron fabric that wound through Central Park for 2 weeks.
They are a work of art, and a work of art is for nothing, only a work of art, for joy and beauty.
While both Christo and Jeanne-Claude have now passed away, new projects are in the works. Paris's Arc de Triomphe is set to be wrapped up next year, and the Pompidou Center plans to install an exhibit honoring the couple in July.
Next to an ambitious and far-reaching environmental project brought to our screens by musician, actress and activist Inna Modja. The Malian singer has lent her talents to the Pan-African initiative called The Great Green Wall, taking a documentary journey to combat climate change. Well, she spoke to France 24's culture editor, Louise Dupont, and told us more.
If people can't work their land, millions across the region will be forced to migrate.
رأي كاف تجرينا من المتاع بقوله زي زريا ملش بعلتنا هنا السرحنا أجاكلنا قلبتاكين بتشا.
The Great Green Wall, it's not just about planting trees. It has to become a movement from the whole continent, from the whole world.
Inna Modja, hello.
Hello.
So you're part of a documentary about the impact of climate change in Africa. First of all, can you tell us a bit more about this Great Green Wall?
So the Great Green Wall is an amazing project that goes from Senegal to Djibouti, and it aims to plant millions of trees to combat desertification and help communities to combat climate change. And I was lucky enough to be part of this project 3 years ago, and I started traveling in this region of the Sahel.
So you traveled from the west coast to the east coast of Africa, stopped in 5 countries, I think.
Yeah.
What did you learn throughout this journey?
I learned about the resilience of the people of the Sahel. They are so strong. Behind any ambitious project like this, you have to have strong-minded and determined people. And that's what I found in the Sahel.
The film shows that climate change not only impacts nature, but also creates humanitarian and political crisis. Can you give us an example?
So we have so many different problems around the climate change. We have forced migration, we have the lack of opportunities, and we have communities that were used to farm and 80% used to live through some kind of agriculture, and they are not able to do so right now. So I'm afraid that we could be facing a huge famine. So the aim of this project is to help people to have new opportunities.
Climate change hasn't seemed to be a priority of world leaders these recent years, even less so with the COVID-19 crisis. Are you worried about that?
Well, yes, I'm worried about it, but I think that this is something that we have to push through as people, as communities around the world. We the people have a way to pressure our leaders, and that is what we aim to do. That is what I aim to do. I want to push people, my audience, to support projects like the Great Green Wall, or there are other projects like the Great Green Wall to combat climate change or combat desertification. And I think together, now is not the time to point fingers or to put some blame on anybody. We have to come together as people, as industries, as leaders to work together and create a better world, because that's really basically what we need right now, because we have like 10 years to be able to combat climate change before we enter a new phase.
And making this documentary was also an artistic journey for you. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, because for me as a musician, I think it's a great way to share messages. The softest message to the stronger one. Through music, people can listen to it and receive the message, because as a musician, I don't have anything else to gain. You know, I'm not a politician. I'm not looking for elections. I'm just sharing my voice. And I'm also using my platform to share the voices of people who are not heard. And so people receive it differently. And so during this amazing travel that really changed the way I see the world, I had the chance to meet other musicians in each country. I went from Senegal to Ethiopia, and every stop I would meet a musician who is from that country and who's involved, who's a kind of activist or another, and use our voices to share messages.
The pandemic has a huge impact on the music industry through the world. How do you see the future for musicians like you?
I really don't know, because I'm a live musician. I love to play around the world. My last tour, Motel Bamako, I did it for 2 years, and we were playing on the 5 continents. We did like over 200 concerts. So I don't really know how it's going to be, but I think that from the comfort of our homes, we can still keep on sharing our voices, our music, and then when we will be able to gather together, we will do so. But I cannot wait for the world to be open again, but safety first.
And so what is your next project? Are you working on an album?
I'm recording an album. I've been doing so many different things now. I had a baby, I worked on the Green Wall, on La Maison des Femmes, but I'm recording new music right now that will be released either at the end of the year or next year. It depends on all the situation right now, but I'm also writing my first film, so we will see how things go.
But we're hoping to hear it soon. Thank you very much, Inna Modja.
Thank you for having me.
In Senegal, the Great Green Wall has become a symbol of hope. But across the Sahel, it's more a vision than reality. Less than 15% is underway.
Finally, with performance spaces and theatres in the UK shuttered, some of London's most vibrant venues are putting their shows online for limited periods. This week, you'll find Gravity Fatigue on Sadler's Wells' digital stage. That's a contemporary dance collaboration between fashion designer Hussein Chalayan and choreographer Damien Jallet. Here's a look. Do you remember you can get more arts and culture on our website, and you can keep up with us on social media too. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.